Welcome back to X Coins Hub. In 1964, the United States stood at a crossroads. The country was in the midst of social upheaval, political shifts, and growing economic pressures. The civil rights movement was changing the nation's moral landscape, and tensions abroad in Southeast Asia were quietly escalating. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint operated as usual, unaware that within the high-volume production of Lincoln cents, something was quietly slipping through the cracks, something small enough to fit in your palm, yet valuable enough to command six figures today. The Lincoln penny of 1964 wasn't supposed to be special. It was produced in massive quantities. Over 6 billion were struck that year across the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The design remained familiar. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse, and the classic wheat ears reverse had already been replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design 5 years earlier. These were workhorse coins, built for circulation, meant to be spent and forgotten. But one era would later define a new chapter in the world of coin collecting. The Philadelphia Mint, strained by high production demands, pushed its equipment hard. Die pairs struck thousands of blanks each day, and workers operated with intense speed to maintain the nation's coin supply. In this pressure, mistakes happened, sometimes small, sometimes catastrophic. But in 1964, one such error quietly passed through. It would not be discovered immediately. It took the sharp eye of a collector years later to recognize what had slipped into the wild. That collector, a retired machinist named Harold Greaves from Indiana, had a habit of checking his change each evening under a desk lamp. He didn't do it for wealth, but for curiosity. In the fall of 1982, he spotted a coin that didn't look quite right. It was a 1964 Lincoln cent, but Lincoln's profile looked slightly distorted. The letters near the rim, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, had a doubled appearance. Under closer inspection, he noticed the date itself had a thickened, shadowed look, particularly around the 6 and the 4. He knew enough to recognize that this was no normal wear or circulation damage. It was a double die, an error that occurs when the die itself carries a slightly rotated or misaligned second impression from the hub, striking every coin with a duplicated image. Unlike machine doubling, true double dies are deep, sharp, and consistent across multiple areas. Harold had found a genuine 1964 double die obverse. News traveled slowly in the pre-internet era, but once the coin was authenticated, it made quiet waves among numismatic circles. A few other examples trickled in over the following years, though none quite matched the clarity of Harold's coin. Some showed light doubling around Lincoln's ear or the motto, others had it on the reverse. But full, dramatic examples were few. It became clear that while billions of 1964 cents had been made, only a sliver featured this significant error. Die varieties from this era are notorious for being both difficult to detect and often overlooked, especially since the mint rarely acknowledged them. Yet this mistake became one of the most sought-after error coins of the Lincoln Memorial series. Its rarity, combined with the year's historical weight, elevated it beyond being just a minting mishap. It became a symbol of how even in overwhelming quantity, rarity can emerge. As more collectors joined the hunt in the 1990s and early 2000s, demand for the 1964 double die cent increased. Grading services started noting its variety, and prices crept steadily upward. Auctions began showcasing verified examples, each sale attracting more attention. Coin roll hunters and change checkers alike hoped to stumble upon the next hidden treasure. The error wasn't just valuable, it became legendary. But the story didn't end there. In 2009, during a comprehensive study of Lincoln cents, a researcher discovered something unexpected: a small batch of 1964 cents showing signs of a transitional planchet. These coins appeared to have been struck on leftover blanks not meant for that year. The metallurgical content differed slightly, and their weight was off by a fraction. Though speculative, the idea that a few 1964 Lincoln cents were struck on the wrong metal added another layer of mystery to the year's coinage. To this day, collectors remain fascinated by the 1964 Lincoln cent, not for its common presence, but for the rare exceptions hidden among the masses. It represents the thrill of discovery, the excitement of chance, and the enduring truth that even the smallest error can rewrite a coin's fate. One misstep in a high-pressure minting process led to one of the most valuable pennies of the era. Today, authenticated 1964 U.S. 1-cent Lincoln penny coins featuring clear double die errors and in high mint state condition are valued between $15,000 and $232,000. A quiet relic from a noisy year, this coin proves that even the most ordinary-looking objects can carry the weight of extraordinary stories. In 2017, something unusual happened in the world of U.S. coinage. For the first time in its long and steady history, the Philadelphia Mint made a quiet but historic decision to include a P mint mark on the Lincoln cent. It was subtle, sitting beneath the year on the obverse, just a small capital letter, P. But for collectors who watch every detail, it was monumental. A cent bearing a P mint mark had never before entered general circulation, and this change marked the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint's founding. Billions of these 2017 P cents were struck and distributed across the country. They were intended as a one-year-only tribute, a symbolic gesture, not a collectible rarity. Yet in the middle of this commemorative run, something happened, an error so subtle, so quiet, that it went completely unnoticed by the Mint. But it would not stay hidden for long. In early 2018, a collector named Luis Moreno from New Mexico was sorting through boxes of pennies from his local bank. He had heard of the new P mint mark and wanted to set aside a few uncirculated examples before the year turned over. As he sorted them by color and sheen, one penny caught his attention, not because of the mint mark, but because of Lincoln's face. Something looked strange. There was a slight doubling in the eye. Then he noticed the letters in Liberty had faint shadows. The date had what appeared to be a thicker, ghost-like outline. Under magnification, it was clear. This wasn't just a trick of the light or mechanical flattening. This was doubling. And not just in one place, but in multiple regions of the coin's obverse. Luis consulted online forums, then submitted the coin to a top-tier grading service. What came back confirmed what he had suspected: a 2017 P Lincoln cent with a genuine double die obverse. A rare and dramatic one. The coin showed clear doubling on the date, motto, and portions of Lincoln's profile, most notably around the eye and jawline. For a modern cent, this kind of doubling was both unusual and valuable. As more collectors started checking their 2017 P cents, additional examples surfaced, though not all matched the strength of Luis's discovery. Some featured light machine doubling, which is far more common and far less valuable. Others, however, did show similar strong features, indicating that a particular die or group of dies used in early 2017 had been misaligned or improperly hubbed. What made this situation especially interesting was the attention already surrounding the 2017 cents due to the mint mark. With more eyes on these coins than usual, one might assume an error wouldn't last long before being caught. But the massive volume of coins struck, over 4.3 billion, meant that even a significant die variety could slip by unnoticed for months. The value of these coins began to shift dramatically. At first, the error was dismissed by some as just another anomaly, but once authenticated and confirmed by multiple grading agencies, interest grew. Auction houses began receiving inquiries. High-grade examples with the strongest doubling began fetching serious prices in private transactions. What had started as a novelty, a mint mark first, was now being joined by a true era rarity. Then came a twist. In a coin show later that year, a separate 2017 P penny appeared with evidence of a misaligned die clash. The outlines of Lincoln's coat were slightly stamped into the field near the rim. Reverse-side analysis showed warping in the 1 cent lettering. It wasn't just a double die. The 2017 P series had more than one anomaly, with at least 3 different error types confirmed across multiple rolls. This drove the series even higher in the eyes of modern error collectors. What makes the 2017 P cent so compelling is the contrast between its intended symbolism and its accidental flaws. It was meant to be a clean, celebratory coin, honoring the U.S. Mint's long legacy. But hidden within its billions, a few slipped into circulation bearing reminders of how unpredictable the minting process still is. Mechanical precision can't always guarantee perfection, and sometimes those imperfections tell the most valuable stories. Collectors now pay special attention to every 2017 P penny they handle. Some keep them by the roll, others hunt for specific error types, be it double dies, die clashes, or rim cuts. The demand hasn't faded, and as more high-quality examples are found, the deeper the lore becomes. It's no longer just about the first PE mint mark. It's about what came with it. Today, certified 2017 P Lincoln cents featuring strong double die errors or distinct die clashes in top mint state grades are valued between $5,000 and $85,000. A modern coin with a modern twist, one that proves even recent history can deliver extraordinary surprises. In 1961, the United States was stepping into a new decade filled with anticipation and transformation. President John F. Kennedy had just taken office, the Cold War simmered quietly in the background, and the American people looked toward the future with cautious optimism. At the Denver Mint, the machines roared with constant motion, pumping out hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents bearing the tiny D beneath the date. They were just pennies, everyday tools for commerce, but hidden among them, a quiet error began its journey, one that wouldn't be recognized for decades. The 1961 D Lincoln cent was never intended to be extraordinary. It was produced in vast numbers. Over 1.75 billion were minted in Denver alone. With such high output, the priority was volume, not perfection. Minor flaws were expected, acceptable even, so long as they didn't disrupt circulation. But amid this massive run, something shifted in the steel of the dies. A small inconsistency, barely noticeable at first, began appearing on a select few coins. For years, the coin remained unnoticed. The country moved on, the coin circulated, and the minor anomaly sat quietly in pockets and drawers. That is, until a coin dealer in Kansas named Rodney Hale stumbled upon something peculiar in the late 1980s. Sorting through a bulk purchase of old wheat and memorial cents, he paused when one 1961 D cent reflected oddly under his lamp. At first, he assumed it was a smudge. But under magnification, he noticed something far more intriguing. The D mint mark looked thicker, almost like it had been struck more than once. The "In God We Trust" motto on the obverse seemed to ripple slightly, and the date, particularly the 1 and 9, had a doubled edge. Rodney had handled thousands of pennies in his lifetime, but this one stood out. He submitted the coin to a reputable grading service. The verdict was clear, a double die obverse. Unlike mechanical doubling, this wasn't caused by vibration or die wear. This was a genuine misalignment during the hubbing process, causing the die to pick up a second, slightly offset impression, an error that was then transferred to every coin it struck. It was rare, it was clear, and it was real. Word spread slowly at first. The Lincoln Memorial Cent series had many double die varieties, but most were subtle and barely distinguishable. This one had depth, strength, and character. A few more examples surfaced in the following years, some from coin rolls, others from family collections. Each one seemed to confirm the same type of error, doubling in the motto, date, and occasionally around Lincoln's eye. Collectors began calling it the 1961 D strong double die. It became a quiet treasure among Lincoln cent enthusiasts, especially those who appreciated varieties rather than just condition. The error wasn't flashy at a glance, but to trained eyes, it was unmistakable. Then came a surprising discovery in 2007. A hobbyist in Nevada found a 1961 penny with the same doubling, but this time on a coin that had never seen circulation. It was nearly perfect, a high-grade mint state example with full red luster and sharply preserved details. The doubling popped under magnification, more pronounced than most previously recorded specimens. It was later graded and listed as one of the finest examples known to the variety. This discovery rekindled interest in the 1961 error, sparking renewed searches through old coin jars and dealer stock. Auction records began to rise, and prices for authenticated double die examples gained momentum. It was no longer a fringe variety. It had crossed into mainstream attention among collectors focused on 20th century coinage. The appeal of the 1961 double die isn't just in its rarity. It's in the context, the idea that a billion coins can be struck, and yet only a handful emerge with a mistake so subtle, yet so meaningful. These coins embody the unpredictability of minting, the fragile balance between speed and precision, and the enduring thrill of discovery. Some examples also showed other anomalies. One was discovered with a die crack running along Lincoln's coat. Another showed a minor die chip at the base of the memorial on the reverse. Though these additional quirks didn't match the significance of the doubling, they added texture to the story. Each error seemed to whisper of the same chaotic moment in the Denver Mint's production flow, frozen in copper and zinc. Today, the 1961 Lincoln cent with confirmed double die characteristics has become one of the sleeper hits of mid-century coin collecting. It is not always the most visible coin in the room, but it is one of the most rewarding for those who find it. A reminder that even in the most common places, something remarkable might be hiding. In top condition, with certified doubling and preserved mint state surfaces, the 1961 US 1 cent Lincoln penny coin holds a value that ranges from $5,000 to $85,000. A quiet, humble coin that now speaks volumes in the hands of those who understand its worth.